Hello and welcome to my tour of the Mosque of Damascus. The entire building has been recreated in Minecraft by me, Joseph O'Haley. Before I get started on the actual tour, let me give you a quick overview of the building's history. So the Mosque of Damascus is also known as Al-Walid's Mosque, and it is the oldest standing temple in the world. The reason we know this is because of a bas-relief of a sphinx somewhere along this northern wall is the only remaining evidence of 9th century BCE when this was a temple for Hadad-Rahman, who was a Semitic god of storms. So eventually, Alexander the Great, he took over. Well, him and his successor took over the surrounding area, and this became a temple for the Greeks for Zeus, Zeus Hadad according to Islamic texts. Now, as it usually happens with the Greeks, the Romans eventually took over around 63 BCE before Christ, and this went from being a temple for Zeus to the Roman version, Jupiter. The Romans had this place for the longest, and eventually, of course, the Romans became Catholic, as Catholicism was sweeping the nation. So this place went from being a temple for Jupiter to being a Roman cathedral, specifically for St. John the Baptist. I will discuss more about him later. So around 636 CE, current era, the Arabs started their conquest, specifically Damascus, the city surrounding this. Well, they reached that part of Syria, and the area was taken over by the Arabs, and the Arabs made a deal, at least at the time, with the Romans. This place was respected, and it remained as a cathedral for another few hundred years. The reason that changed is that Al-Walid, the caliph of the early 8th century, he wanted a mosque that would show up all other religious buildings, especially cathedrals. He wanted to create something absolutely incredible, so he chose this temple as the location. And from the year 708 to 715, which is about 7 years, he used every single cent the city earned, every single worker that was available, and tried to create something incredible. He succeeded. The building was in the contest to be one of the 7 wonders of the world, though I don't believe it won. So let me begin the tour proper. This is the first stop here. This is the western gate. There's 4 gates total. There is Al-Khalas in the north, Jayrun in the east, Al-Ziyad in the south, and this one is Al-Grid, also known as the Gates of Clocks or Hours, depending on how you translate it. The reason it's called this is the Battle of Kabbalah. So, a long time ago, there was a caliph named Yazid II, and Hussein, who was the grandson of Muhammad, excuse me. So, Hussein had his own little settlement going on, and Yazid, of course, asked him, like, hey, be subservient, bow down to me, I am the caliph. Observe my rule, and Hussein, of course, did not agree to this. So they had a bit of a scuffle. Yazid headed him off in the field of Karbala, hence the name, and Yazid's 3,000 men decimated Hussein's about, I believe, 80 to 100 men. Of course, Hussein himself was killed in the battle, and the survivors, the prisoners of Kabbalah, were brought here, and they were forced to wait 72 hours at this gate until they were allowed entrance to the palace at the time. It was both a show of goodwill and a threat. Take it as you will. The second spot on the tour is actually 3 locations. It is the minarets. There's the minaret of Isa, the Bride, and Qaitbay. The oldest of the 3 here is the Bride. It was built around 985, though it was edited in 1174 as well. And it is the current one used to call the prayer, where someone goes up and sings out to let people know it's time to go. It is named after the merchant's daughter, the merchant who supplied lead for the roof. His daughter was married to the caliph at the time, hence the name the Bride. Isa is the other most important one. Isa translates directly to Jesus. This one was built in 1247, though it was finished by the Ottomans, and it is the tallest of the 3. It's called Jesus because this is where he's supposed to descend on Judgment Day. It's a bit old looking, but it is, some people consider it the most important one. Qaitbay is the most modern, and it was built around 1488, and besides being the prettiest, it's not the most noteworthy. So we'll be continuing on. The third spot on the tour kind of includes the whole building. It is the Dome of the Eagle. The dome itself is a small portion in the middle, but the entire building resembles an eagle. The bays are the outstretched wings, the dome being its head, and the heart of the temple itself being the body and legs. And I'll head inside real quick so you guys can see what the roof of the dome looks like. Unfortunately, there is one thing you should know. The dome was destroyed in 1890 due to a fire. Almost the entire dome was destroyed, as well as a large portion of the bays, And so almost all of this that you see is a recreation of that, unfortunately. But yeah, still beautiful, but noteworthy that it is a replacement. So this is the next stop on the tour. It is the tomb of the prophet Yahya, also known as St. John the Baptist. And this is from when this was a cathedral for St. John back in 636. Normally no one's allowed in here, but, well, Minecraft doesn't care about that. This room is normally almost entirely inaccessible with a big padlock on the door. And it's said because St. John's head is still in here, kept inside the tomb in the middle. So St. John was the successor or precursor to Jesus, depending how you look at it. And he was the one to warn people, like, hey, Jesus is coming, get ready. And he baptized a lot of important people, and when it came time, he baptized Jesus himself. He was beheaded in 30 BC, though, as is common for saints. The final stop on the tour is this back wall, the Qibla wall. It is the most original part of the building. When Al-Walid first reconstructed this from the original cathedral, almost the entire thing was torn down and restarted, except for the back wall, which was built upon the original. It's also very huge chunks of spolia, which originate from back when it was a temple for Zeus and Jupiter. Though, of course, Hadad Rahman, only the Sphinx remained, as I mentioned earlier. The notable things along this wall is the mihrabs. This is the great mihrab here in the middle. It is the biggest and prettiest, though it was built last out of all four. It was almost an afterthought. The other notable mihrab is the one over here, which is a bit smaller but is still very important. It's called the mihrab of the Companions of the Prophet, otherwise known as Sahaba. There's also two smaller mihrabs along the wall, but these are the two with names and major importance. There's also many mihrabs throughout the building that are locked up in rooms or otherwise protected because they are meant for the Caliph himself or for other important figures to use. So that is my tour of the Mosque of Damascus. I hope you guys found it interesting, or at least educational, and I'll be uploading the Realms code for this world if you guys want to join in and take a look. I'll put it all on the discussions board. So yeah, thank you for listening, and I hope you found this interesting.